Hello, this is an introduction to this course, STAT 2513, Statistics for Biological and Health Sciences. What's your feeling about numbers? Let's look at this picture. This guy is in panic because there are so many numbers chasing him. Hopefully, you have more confidence in numbers than this guy, or at least, hopefully by the end of this class, you will have a better feeling about numbers. Why is this course necessary? This course will discuss tools and methods for two different purposes. Firstly, how to present and summarize data. In the previous slide, if the data are presented in a nice and organized way, that guy will be more confident about numbers. Secondly, find quantitative evidence for your theory and hypothesis. Here, we need to first mention that randomness, uncertainty, and variability exist in many real-world applications. Statistics is the scientific approach to handle data collected from random phenomena. If we toss a coin, before the coin lands on the ground, we don't know what the outcome will be. It can be a head or a tail. This is a random phenomenon because we cannot predict the outcome. However, if we toss in the coin many times, we will be able to find some patterns from the outcomes. We will observe that we can get heads roughly half of the time. Let's consider one problem. If I give you a coin, how can you prove or disprove that this coin is a fire coin? By a fire coin, I mean we can get a head with 50% chance. We start with a theory or hypothesis. The coin is a fire coin, because this is the most common situation. An on-fire coin is rare. Then we need to collect data. We may toss the coin 100 times and record the number of heads we get. Now, let's move on to data analysis. For a fire coin, we expect to get heads roughly 50 times. Too large or too small the number of heads indicates that the coin is not fair. Now, here comes the question. How large is large, or how small is small? For example, if we get 51 heads, we tend to believe that the coin is fair. How about 60 heads? How about 70 heads? What is a reasonable cutoff point? If you can select a cutoff point based on a good reason, we can draw a conclusion based on that. This is a simple example, but it contains all the necessary components in a typical scientific research. It starts with a theory or hypothesis. It involves data collection and data analysis. Throughout the whole process, statistics plays an important role. The contents of this course can be roughly classified into three categories. The first one is descriptive statistics. For descriptive statistics, we summarize important features of the data for easy understanding and interpretation. We may use graphs or may use numbers. For graphs, for example, we may have a bar chart or a histogram. For numbers, we may have mean, median, or standard deviation. We can find descriptive statistics in newspapers or TV, particularly in finance or sports sessions. The second category is inferential statistics. Inferential statistics is used to model patterns in the data, accounting for randomness and drawing inferences about the population. The tools we have here include point estimation, confidence interval, and hypothesis testing. Inferential statistics usually appears in scientific journals. The last category is probability. Probability provides a solid mathematical foundation to randomness. It provides theoretical justification for all statistical models and methods. It includes topics such as random variables, normal distribution, and many more. In terms of the level of mathematics, descriptive statistics does not need much mathematics. Inferential statistics needs some mathematics. Probability needs more skills in mathematics. For these three categories, descriptive statistics accounts for roughly 20% of the course contents. Inferential statistics accounts for 40%, and probability accounts for the remaining 40%. This graph explains very well how statistics works. The input contains just numbers or maybe data. The big machine is just like statistics. The purpose of statistics is to take in those messy numbers and to produce organized and interpretable information. In this course, we will introduce many tools and methods. They will help us to analyze and understand the data. This course, STAT 2513, has 3 credit hours. The prerequisite include Math 1100 or maybe Math 1120. Basically, you should have already taken some classes on calculus. A closely related course is STAT 2510. STAT 2510 is a traditional course taught in a regular classroom. This course, 2513, however, is an online course on Canvas. Although one is in a classroom and one is online, these two courses are equivalent. They cover the same contents and the same level of difficulty. Usually, students can only take one of them and can get credits for only one of them. I will regularly upload course materials on Canvas. On Canvas, you should be able to find slides and videos. Additional to that, you should be able to find homework or maybe handout, among other things. You need to pay attention to the weekly announcement on Canvas. Because this is an online course, the teacher and students will not meet face to face. If you have any short questions, you are welcome to send me an email. I will try my best to respond to your email as soon as possible. For long questions, we can discuss that using Zoom. Please send me an email to make an appointment. We will schedule a time to meet on Zoom. The discussion board on Canvas is also a good way to communicate. If you have any questions that may also be relevant to other questions, for example, if you ask a question about a homework problem, it is strongly recommended that you post the question on the discussion board. I will answer questions there. And the students are also welcomed to answer questions on the discussion board. These are the textbook and the references. The first book is Introductory Statistics by Weiss. This is the main textbook. I prepare the lecture notes following this book. Most homework problems also come from this book. The other 2 books are very nice books. I highly recommend them to you if you want extra materials to read. The second book is Statistics, written by Friedman. This book mainly uses words to explain statistical concepts. It limits the mathematical formulas to minimum. The statistics concepts are mainly explained using examples and stories. The last book, The Cartoon Guide to Statistics, is a funny one. It explains statistical concepts using cartoons. I like these 2 books very much. If you are not very confident with mathematics and the formulas, I recommend that you read these books as supplement to the main textbook. The grading of this course is based on homework, tests, and exams. There are also opportunities for bonus credits. For homework, I will post homework regularly on Canvas. For each homework, you will have 3 attempts, and the highest score will be recorded. Notice, for some homework problems, the numbers may be randomly generated, so even if you work on the same problem twice, the number may be slightly different. We will have roughly 3 or 4 tests during the semester. Each test covers contents in 1 or more chapters. The final exam is comprehensive. For each test and the final exam, you will have only 1 attempt. All tests and exams are closed book. Of course, you can bring a cheat sheet. During the tests and exams, you may also need to use a calculator. Similar to homework problems, numbers in test and exam problems may also be randomly generated. Different students may work on similar but slightly different problems. Near the end of the semester, I will give a bonus assignment. This is an opportunity for students to make up their grades. The bonus credits are available to all students. In addition to that, if you can identify any errors in the lecture notes, homework, and test and exam answers, I will give you bonus credits. However, the credit only goes to the first student who reports the error. Notice that the grammar errors and typos do not count. The correct answers to homework will be available immediately after you submit your homework, and the correct answers to test and exam problems will be available 1 or 2 days after the deadline. Usually, I will not post a detailed solution to a homework, test, or exam on Canvas, because there are always some requests for late homework or makeup exams. This is the major reason that I do not post solutions. Of course, if you cannot figure out how to solve a problem, I will be glad to help. Just contact me with your solution, and I will help you find out what the error is. Rounding error is a common reason for losing points in your homework, test, and exams, even if you use correct formulas. So, it is highly recommended that you keep 4 decimal places for all intermediate numbers whenever possible. The homework, test, and exams are graded automatically. If you believe that you lose points purely due to rounding errors, you may contact me for partial credits. When you request for partial credits, make sure to include your solution when submitting such a request, because I need to check and make sure that you follow the correct procedure and the correct formula to do the calculation. Students are responsible for scheduling tests and exams. You can do that directly in Canvas. Most students took tests and exams in the Big Center in the past, which is free and also hassle-free. Of course, if you do not like Big Center, you can use other resources. Students can schedule a test and exam with another testing center or qualified individual proctors. In this case, students need to pay a fee. If you are outside of Auburn or even outside of the US, please make sure that you can find a proctor nearby. Academic dishonesty. I will not read the whole paragraph. I recommend that you read it by yourself and take it seriously. I will trust everyone and assume that everyone is honest. However, if I suspect that any student is doing something bad, I will have to report that to the university. Bad behavior will lead to bad consequences, and it will ruin your study. Students with disability. If any of you need any special accommodations, please contact me as soon as possible. I will be glad to discuss with you to see what I can do for you. Usually, such a request needs to go officially through the Office of Accessibility. The information on the Office of Accessibility is here in the bottom. Both the office location and the phone number are included. Some tips for learning. First, you need to pay attention to all deadlines. Although it is an online course, there are still some deadlines. Deadlines for homework, deadlines for tests, and exams. Try to meet all deadlines. Read the course syllabus carefully to make sure that you understand how this course is running. If you have any questions, send me an email. It is strongly recommended that you allocate a fixed period of time every week to study the course material and complete homework. Don't wait until the last minute. You cannot complete the whole course in one night. Pay attention to the weekly announcement on Canvas. Usually, I will post announcements on Mondays. Those announcements usually include what I expect you to do within this week. Regularly check Canvas and emails to see whether there is any announcement. If you have any questions, please feel free to send me an email.